As we get into the beginning of this video, I want to acknowledge that I am posting this a week late. I'm posting both of my videos a week late. I did not make a post last week. I had some stuff come up at home and something had to take the back burner. And with this being my newest endeavor, this is what took the back burner. And you know what? That's totally fine. There are going to be weeks where I only have 80% or 50%, and as long as I'm still showing up to that and still giving the percentage that I have for this, I'm totally fine with it. And my plan now is to just move forward, move on, and keep going. All of that being said, week 4 was actually a pretty good week. I think I got some really good practice in. I moved forward with some of my projects, and I got a couple of interesting journal entries. One of which I think is quite fitting for this video coming out a week late and having some unexpected things come up. And I would like to share that with you now. I'm feeling so great this morning. I wrote about finishing my daily practice for the week. I was able to make time for this practice every morning, and I hit my goal for the week with a finished piece. This is the first simple object practice that I've done in so many years. Coming back to art feels amazing in my body and has done wonders for my mind. Sometimes I ponder where I would be if I had stuck to practicing all those years ago when I walked away. Then I remember, it's the coming back that matters so much, isn't it? We all fall off from time to time, of our own accord or because of life circumstances outside of our control. It's the coming back and getting back on track that matters, though. If it's been 10 minutes, 10 months, or 10 years, we should all try to come back to the things that make us feel fulfilled and joyful. We should all try to live a life worth living, a life our inner child would be proud of and happy with. When it comes to my work ethic, this is one of my most strived for values. This week, I came to realize an area of my art where I wasn't practicing from a place of integrity for this value. I was practicing in the black and white statements, which, like I have talked about before, are not where growth happens. Growth happens in all of the gray areas. I was making statements to myself like every practice that I have should be of something significant. A significant skill, a significant thing to record and share. Every moment needs to be worth seeing. And if I'm not doing something worth seeing, it's not worth doing. I was making statements like, I can only create on creative days or I will get burned out. I've been so scared of burning out from art and creating because honestly, I lived in a state of burnout for so long from other aspects of my life that I was putting hard stop and go restrictions around my time creating to give myself a break, quote unquote. But that wasn't actually what I needed to feel joyful and fulfilled. I watched this video earlier last week that helped me realize what was really going on. The video is linked below. This creator talked about showing up every single day, and at first I was put off, thinking about how it was unrealistic. It felt unrealistic because I was stuck in this black and white thinking that everything needed to be worth seeing, and if it wasn't worth seeing, it wasn't worth doing. I didn't even realize that I was stuck in this restricting belief yet. I kept watching though, because the idea of making quote unquote crap art was intriguing to me. And I just like to listen to people I don't 100% agree with sometimes. In this case, I'm glad that I kept listening, because it turns out I did agree with her. And I really needed to hear that message to recognize and start to shift away from this limiting belief. Something sparked in me when she talked about detaching from the results. And when I asked her about this and about rest days, she expounded on that aspect further. She said she will just doodle or practice lettering. This way, she's still creating and making something, but there's much less pressure. And that was my aha moment. When I read that response, I recognized my limiting belief that things have to be worth seeing. I was putting so much pressure, so many rigid stops and goes into my schedule that I was actually freezing when I had moments of just wanting to be creative. By not making room for the bad art or the low pressure practice that doesn't need to be worth seeing, I was actually going against my own value system of showing up to the things that make me feel fulfilled and living a life worth living. By limiting myself to only the moments worth sharing, I was starting to take the joy away from just being in the creative process. The first painting series that I shared on social media was that fairy painting, and I never intended for it to be something significant. But it's actually the first painting I have completed in over a decade. I started it when I was just really wrapped up in my head and I wanted to calm my thoughts. It was a gray area piece. I had no scheduled practice that evening. I had no intentions for what I was doing. I just sat down and showed up for the work. Sometimes life is going to have unexpected turns. And by being willing to live in the gray areas and still show up, even if it doesn't look like how we planned or we don't make something worth seeing, we are still allowing ourselves to make progress and be a part of the process that brings us joy. I wasn't able to show up in this grand way that I had planned last week, but I did still show up. I didn't make anything worth seeing last week. This video is from the week prior, but I did make something and I gained inspiration from that. I'm grateful to the creator who made the video that I'm talking about, and I'm grateful that I happened to see it when I did, because the lesson that I learned probably helped keep me out of a downward spiral that I could have gone on due to not meeting my previously assigned goals. I was inspired to keep showing up even when I only had 20% and I wasn't doing something worth sharing. And that's definitely a lesson worth learning. Thanks for watching my video. Until next time.